Hi.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to Coffee Conversation. Today we are going to talk about the most important part of education, which is curriculum. So, Vishnu, introducing here Vishnu, who is our curriculum expert. His organization works in the space of integrated curriculum and naturalizing curriculum. We will understand from him what is it about, and he has been a great help for us for designing our learning phase. We will understand more about what is curriculum and how do we look at the curriculum from Vishnu. First, I will ask Vishnu to talk about his own journey, and let's take it forward from there. Hi, Vishnu.
Hi. So, my journey with integrated learning began when I was in school, and it has continued since. And I have always been into that mode of learning. And because of that, today I specialize in integrated and natural learning methods. So, yeah, that's in a very short introduction about me. But you see that because I had that perspective of looking at things in a very integrated manner,
Hmm.
I have always, spoken to my teachers, the principals, wherever I have studied, and now people I'm working with, to look at things in a more integrated way. The way they teach, the way they
Hmm.
put information or knowledge
Hmm.
across.
Hmm.
So like I said, I specialize in integrated and natural learning methods.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there are two parts to it.
Hmm.
So integrated method is a way in which um, you actually figure out where and how all the subjects are interrelated with each other,
Hmm. Hmm.
and where they have already been applied.
Hmm.
So, and how that is applicable in our daily life.
Hmm.
So, like for example, how, let's say, how physics, maths, or bio and chemistry are
Hmm. Hmm.
interconnected with each other. That is something which is uh, you can see it much faster. But how that is connected with your social studies or
Hmm. Hmm.
languages is
Hmm.
something that is not really explored on, or
Hmm.
people don't see it in, okay, are these two are related, or these three are related.
Hmm.
But there are so many things that are related, and the best part is that
Hmm.
we can actually see this applied. So many of these concepts that we study in daily classes and school and all, we see this applied in nature itself.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that comes to my second part of it, which is natural learning. So learning from nature is been something that has always intrigued me, and is so I learn so many concepts from nature directly, rather than sitting with the books for a very long time. And
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
for me, putting this across to people is what I do now.
Okay. And your organization, the Humanity Express,
Yeah.
could you tell a little bit about that?
So Humanity Express, as an organization, is a team of young, dynamic leaders, people who came together. They're all from different walks of life. Some of them are from science background, some of them are from arts background, and some of them are specializing only in history and mathematics. Two of them are just storytellers.
Okay.
So we've all come together on a on the same platform
Hmm.
to integrate and to provide this opportunity to people to learn in a different way.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And looking at the long run, this would be far more beneficial than trying to, what do you say, have quick fixes in the system itself. Instead of that, you kind of deviate from the old path into a slightly newer version, create it, and in the long run, it will work out to be better for humans as a society. That's how the name also came up, Humanity Express. So we are running towards, saving humanity as it is.
Okay.
through,
So,
this integrated and natural learning methods. Yeah.
So that is very interesting that saving humanity through integration of curriculum. But let us first understand like why do we want to make a difference in curriculum? Why? Because there is a set pattern in curriculum all throughout in our education system. Like you have to study these many subjects, like there is social science, there is math, science, English, and other languages, and everything is so set. So integration in that case will be very different, right? As in you take a theme or you take a subject, and then you think about that very differently from a holistic perspective. Is that something which means integration, or integration is something different? Um,
So, okay, I'll just tell you how I have understood it and how it is easy for people to understand, right? So, rightly said, everything is very set in its places, and
right.
things go on. Physics is physics, math is math, all those things. But if you look at it in a little, in a very little selfish manner, okay, you put yourself in that place, and you ask the question, now why should I study this, or why am I learning this? So for me, integration, I see it as you put yourself at the center. Okay, now you see how and where physics, whatever the concepts of physics or math that you are learning, how can you apply it in your life? Okay, the baseline is, first thing you will understand is physics and math are the governing law bodies of the universe itself. So you cannot do without it, right? So, but then coming back to you yourself, you look at it from a biological perspective. So you are putting, you are keeping biology at the center, and you yourself at the center of the biology, and then you're connecting all the other subjects to yourself, and then while doing that, you realize that they are in some way directly, indirectly linked with each other. So then you will get a whole, a larger perspective. You will get to see the whole map at that time.
Okay.
Then when you see the whole map, it's easy to say, okay, I want to go from here to here, so I have to follow a certain path.
Okay.
Which means what you're doing now, which you're looking at only certain pockets, you don't know how to connect all of them. So you don't know where to go.
Right.
So instead of that, when you start integrating, when you start connecting all these dots, you will see that everything is some way or the other, you can go around it. You can go to it. So once you know that overall map, then which way you want to go is totally up to you.
Okay, so it is like a network of things that we are looking at from the integration perspective. But let us first understand very basic of it. Now, what is the problem with current curriculum?
Okay. So the way I see it, the current curriculum is like extremely, for one thing, it's extremely differentiated. Okay, like you have physics people don't talk about anything else. Like right, maths people don't want to know anything else. Also, like I'll stick to math. I don't want anything else.
Right.
So it's like that. So it's very, very differentiated. It's they remain in pockets and they don't want to see things beyond that. So, but when it comes to learning, as whether if you're a child or an adult, curiosity is something natural to us. We'd love to explore. We'd like to know what the answer to this is, why this is like this, what this is like this. No? So we like to know that. We are curious to understand a lot of things. But if you look at, you want to sit in those little pockets and say, no, I don't want to, contact anything else. I don't want to look beyond this. Since I cannot see anything beyond this, I don't want to look at it. That's also there. So when that happens, yeah, I'll give that example. So let's take, for example, let's take something as simple as light. Okay. So in physics, you learn about light, properties of light, so many other things. Now, the same light is, calculated with a lot of mathematical formulas. But the physics teacher and the math teacher don't get together at all. Or the curriculum is set in such a way that these two don't have any link with each other. And that light is obviously applicable in our lives, right?
Yes.
How do we see light? How do we see color? Why do we see the pencil bent even it is in water? So many things. But when you get that question, that is when you realize that, oh, okay, this connection to that subject is not there. So isolated pockets is what we could call it. So the curriculum is set in those isolations. That is one thing. Second thing is, most of what we are studying, I mean, most of it, I would say, what we are studying is still very factory and industrial based somewhere. I mean, for example, chemistry, 10th grade onwards, they study a lot about industrial processes of smelting iron ore and obtaining pure iron and things like that.
Right.
Now, see, it is one thing to give them the information that this is how iron is separated from its ore. But it is a very different thing when you give them each and every step in extreme detail with a lot of equations. Many of them may not even want to go into the chemistry line later on, right? And forget just the chemistry line. They will probably end up in a pharmaceutical company, for example, where they're looking at quality analysis of a medicine. But you learning all this in so much detail, where you're not even going and you're not even visiting the industry for that matter. So it's absolutely useless for the person to be teaching or learning it. No, even teaching it or even learning it. So many equations, so much of detail when you're talking about, getting the iron ore out and getting the pure iron and on different types of iron and all that. So it's absolutely useless for the person who's teaching it also and the person who's learning it also. So what is the point in having that there?
Okay, so basically you are saying that it should be relatable to the daily life.
Yeah.
It is not that curriculum is something which is very different from our life, and if we include day-to-day elements in curriculum, then maybe it will become very, very relatable to learner. So taking it forward from that point, there's a huge debate around child-centered education today or learner-centered education.
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to have your perspective if we are talking about child-centered, making a curriculum child-centered. So it is like, taking some extra effort, which is curriculum, which is not child-centered or a learner-centered at the moment. You are taking different efforts for making it child-centered. So can nature of curriculum be such that it is by nature child-centered or by nature learner-centered? So how do we look at curriculum which is designed in such a way there is human in the center? Our topic today is humanizing curriculum, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about humanizing aspect, we need somebody to look at it in a decision maker in curriculum, maybe to look at it in a human centered way, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I wanted to have your perspective on that as well.
Okay, cool. So this brings me to the second aspect, which I specialize in, it is natural learning. Okay, so the way I see it, there are two parts to natural learning. One is my favorite, which is learning from nature. Okay, so many aspects that you can learn directly from nature. I'll touch upon that a little later on. But the second aspect is what I would like to put in first. That is the natural way in which a person learns. Okay, so whatever, see, not everybody reads, not everybody would want to write, would like to write. There are some people who would just observe things around them and okay, yeah, okay, this happens, I got it. Some people would like to break stuff, make stuff,
Right.
kinesthetic ways.
Yes.
Some people would just, I don't care, I'm going to read. They're going to be reading 100 books in a day if you allow them to actually. They won't even want to come to eat. So it's like that. So that has to be incorporated into building up the curriculum. So if you look at so many children or so many teachers, for example, so all of them have their own ways of learning, their own natural ways of learning. As I said, we are all curious. We'll go and explore. Some of us will explore in the library. Some of us will actually go to the plant and explore. Some of them will run around and explore something. So, but you see, at least we know now that there are these patterns of learning.
Okay.
So instead of holding like an industry or a factory way of learning, can we use these 4 or 5 parts to learn? And actually, truly speaking, we can, we must also, because this is what comes naturally to us. So something that is coming naturally to you will never hinder your growth.
Okay.
So when you give a book to a person with information, knowledge, and probably have a discussion later on with that person, their growth will be multifold rather than you sitting and yakety yak in front of 100 people and only 1 or 2 are like, okay, yeah, listening, and the rest of them will be like, oh, so instead of that, you can put, learning is in different ways. That comes naturally to the child.
Right.
For that, the teacher themselves should understand what type of a learner they are. They also are one of those types, right? So when you look back, so I would see this whole process of building up this curriculum as like a water cycle. So you have evaporation from the ocean, you have precipitation on the land, and then river flowing back to the ocean. So if we need water upstream, we need to look at what people are, who people are, get that information, utilize it as per their needs, and then come back to the knowledge base. So it has to go in that cycle. Only then will things work.
Okay. So this is a very interesting discussion happening with Vishnu, our curriculum expert who specializes in integration and natural learning. So if you have any doubts or any questions, then please feel free to put it in the comment box so that we can take them up in our discussion. So what we are discussing today is how to put human in center while designing curriculum. So there is now we agree to your point that learners have instincts and we can build on their instincts, their curiosities, right, as educators.
Right.
But let's say in your class 50 people are there, 50
Right.
students are there. How exactly would you as a teacher nurture on each one of them curiosity and instincts of each one of them? This is one question. Another question is because it is a system, education is a system,
Right.
the decision making lies with somebody else
Correct.
many times, because we do not belong to that system directly,
Hmm.
working with the government, but we do our bit, choosing, taking our small space out from the system, right? So
Right.
that's why you and me, that's how we are operating.
Correct.
But if somebody who is integrated to the schooling system, then how should they look at it?
Okay. Awesome. Mm, okay. So there are yeah. So there are many ways of looking at it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So see, one thing I'll tell you, simplest thing would be like, as I said, if you know what type of a learner you are,
Hmm.
you'll automatically start clicking with those type of learners in your class.
Yeah.
So you know how to take care of those guys.
Okay.
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 Because you know how it is to be
Hmm.
like that. So you know, okay, if I'm a reader and I know these 4 5 are, I click with them, so we can quickly exchange notes, discussions and things. Now the rest of them again, so there's, I would say not even step number one, I would say step number probably zero itself. We need to assess that part as to where are you coming from, what type of a learner are you, what is your background, all those things. So when you do that, you're, see, um, it's not like a judgment on those kids. It's more like just to understand them better. See, so like, I can think of two parts that right now coming to my mind. One is the part that like they call it the iceberg model. My mentors always tells me the iceberg model. So the tip of the iceberg is what you can see,
Right.
right? So certain aspects of the child you can see and you can understand,
Right.
but certain other aspects, a lot of other things that are below
Below the
the water,
iceberg. Yeah.
see, so you can see a lot of tangible things of either knowledge, action, things like that. But there's so many things that probably like emotions and, you know, uh, I
Their
really wouldn't
background,
want to,
ecosystem,
yeah,
and everything.
ecosystem. I really don't want to learn this way, but since you're saying so, I want, okay, I'll listen. Maybe you know better. That is the thing. So this is the second aspect that, people always think, somehow that message has gone to the children that the teacher knows the best. So anything like, okay, teacher is saying, fine, I'll just do it. Never mind. I know that my heart says, go
Seriously,
do it. Way.
because
But
nowadays students are much more smarter than this. In our time when we were in schools,
yeah,
we were like, teacher is like Bhagwan for us, and
absolutely.
nowadays kids are like, ma'am, तुम्हें कुछ पता नहीं.
No problem is they go the other extreme also. Like, you don't know even this. So how come you became teacher? That also comes out at many times.
Yeah.
So there's that balance that needs to be, brought in about. But here again, see, like you said, there is the governing body, and then there is the management, then there is the rest of them, and then it comes down
Yes.
to the students, right?
Right.
So in this process, there are certain aspects of, let's say, the curricula, as well as may not be entirely the curricula, but the way children want to learn it. Okay, that part. And there are certain other things that the school needs to co-create with the children, irrespective of what the government says. The government has so many other policies, rules, everything. That, okay, certain things, overall framework, yes, okay, fine, let it be there. But within the school, they have that power, right? So they can co-create a lot of things with the children,
Okay.
which they don't do. See, when you co-create, that is when the children come to understand you, you come to understand the children. There is a kind of a mutuality growing there, okay, I respect you, you respect me, just common grounds.
Okay.
Na
Okay.
tera na mera also ho jayega, to bhi fir bhi common grounds. So we'll stick to the common grounds. Okay, so that will happen. Once that happens, then the teachers also don't have so much pressure. The children also don't have so much pressure.
Right.
So what the curricula says, it will say, but how you put it across, how you take it, will be within your hands.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
What is the role of parent, Vishnu? Because nowadays parents are like, there's a huge debate on parental education as well. And we will come to that question that there people are asking question, but I want to take this one first, because if you are talking about co-creating knowledge, then co-creation happens everywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Within peer learning, student to student co-creation happens, teacher to student co-creation happens, parent to student, why not, right? Parent teacher student, why not again? So what are
Absolutely.
your views on this?
So, um, actually, there are a lot of things that children learn from parents.
Hmm.
Lot of things. Parents are invisible to it. They don't even know that they are putting out that message to the child. The child has
Hmm.
learnt it.
Hmm.
Later on, they'll be like, "Arey, what has happened to this kid of mine?" And kid will be like, "Yeah, you did that like 5 years ago. I learnt it from you."
Ah.
They'll come out at some point of time. It will come out.
Yes.
So, I actually, before the teachers, I feel the parents' role is the most important. Actually, so what they do, how they do it,
Hmm.
and in a very aware manner,
Hmm, 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 hmm,
they have to be. And see, the issue with uh, till now, till
hmm.
this present state, till now, the issue has been that parents have forgotten about the child the whole day,
Ah.
only in the morning and in the night.
Huh, huh.
That's it. Now, because the child is at home, the parents are also at home.
Hmm.
Now we have to think about, okay, this guy is at home or this girl is at home. So how do we make sure that they are engaged so that I don't have headache? No, I can do my work.
Huh.
There also, even at home,
Hmm.
co-create a lot of things with the child.
Okay, like cooking, cleaning.
Cooking, cleaning, all that is like the basic stuff that
Huh.
it's, see, more than academic per se, I
Huh.
would say, co-create a lot of life skill stuff,
Hmm.
even in home, even at home, even in school.
Hmm.
Academics is just one part of it,
Hmm.
but the life skills is something that should continuously happen
Yeah.
everywhere they go,
Yeah.
which is what, like, for example, ancient times, Gurukula system, that's
Hmm.
what they used to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know what you do. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Your bed and your room should be clean. Come out there, sit under the tree. First thing you need to do is have gratitude for everything that you have right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Go thank everybody in whoever comes to your mind.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
close your eyes, thank everybody.
Hmm.
Now it's not like that. No.
Yeah.
First thing is in the morning. Okay, mama is making breakfast. I don't have anything to do. Chill. I'll get up late. So it starts
Yeah.
with that itself. So you're taking a parents for granted. Then you take your
Yeah.
school for granted. Okay, my parents have paid the fee, so I just have to go and spend time there and come back. Doesn't matter. And as you grow older, like, especially when you come to a teenage phase,
Uh.
you get a lot more of that attitude
So
coming
this
out.
is kind of entitlement
Huh.
you get from institution around you, even if
Uh,
it is home or it is school. You just get entitled to things, and that's what system teaches you to do.
Correct.
Okay. So now there are so many people asking questions. So let me
Yeah.
take questions one by one now. Um, how can schools adopt such a humanizing curriculum along with their own formal curriculum? For pre-primary and primary, is it necessary to learn through foreign language? Okay, so let me take it one by one.
One by one.
First
Yeah.
question, how can school adopt humanizing curriculum along with the formal curriculum? So I think you have answered this question in a way, right?
Yes.
But
But
still you
if,
want to
yeah,
comment?
I'll put it, reiterate it again.
Hmm.
So here, the humanizing curriculum and, like I said, added life skills and all, concentrating on that is something that you need to be putting across.
Hmm.
So the formal curriculum per se, this itself should be the formal curriculum.
Okay. Okay. So basically, in curriculum, if you talk about that 6-year-old or 10-year-old at the center of design of the curriculum, then your problem is sorted. That's what you mean?
I wouldn't say problem is sorted, but learning happens more naturally. So a lot of unnecessary problems can be removed.
Okay, that way.
So whatever other problems that come up, that will come up naturally, and you can utilize your energy instead of putting it elsewhere and all the other stuff that you've been doing till now and getting pressurized and breaking your head over it. You can actually be with the child and take him right through it. So you don't actually, frankly speaking, the word teacher itself should be removed. Yeah, because the child learns. Either ways, the child learns.
Okay, so nurture on the natural instincts and curiosity.
Yeah.
But Vishnu, here there is a problem. Why? Because I may not be inclined to sports. Huh?
Right.
I mean, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not inclined to physical education and sports. Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm neither. So
I'm too much into one aspect of education, maybe literature, reading, writing, or STEM. So if they take my natural curiosity and build on that, then there is a chance that I may miss out on some very important aspects of life.
Like
I said, physical education.
Okay.
I was a very, alsi when PT period used to come. Okay? I hated to play. Otherwise, I could go to library whole day and read a book. That's what I preferred. So, but then there lies a problem. Why? Because then I got alienated to, doing exercises or being fit. That thing did not came to me naturally, and I'm actually, I'm facing problems because of that in today's time also, because it has long-term effect, right?
Absolutely.
So then what you do?
Correct. So, amazing question. That's a very good question, because this is where we need to find that balance. Okay. Between differentiating the subjects and teaching them per se, like you said, like for example, physical education. Okay. The other part is your natural instincts. You hone in on that as well. You're integrating stuff. You show them how it is applicable in your lives. Normal common day life. Your life skills and your emotionality, all those things, when you put everything, mix it up, you have to bring it to the balance. Right? So in your case, or in that way, even in my case, because I'm not a very physically energetic, active person that way, I don't like sports. That's what I mean. So in your case, see, you not liking PT is one way of you getting to the library, because you were trying to escape it internally. You were trying to escape it. Not that it was consciously done, but you moved to the library because, okay, that is my comfort zone. This is not.
Yes.
There is when we have to speak with the child, understand what's happening, get the child to understand that all these things, little together, will work out. Okay. So when I'm saying hone in on the natural instincts, I don't mean get the child to do only that. That balance is there. See, that is where you need that the teacher as a mentor and a facilitator there.
Okay.
Not only for A plus B whole square types. Not only academics. We need people to be there at that point. Whereas we have a lot more people on the academic side and nobody on the other side. Nobody thinking of this part or this part, the hard part.
So you mean to say that, okay, agency should be there with the child, but agency should be controlled in some way, or complete agency lies with the child?
No, I wouldn't I wouldn't say controlled per se, right? It's regulated. It's not controlled.
Regulated.
See, if
Okay.
you say control, one person
Yeah.
has the lever in their hands. One person has that button in their hands.
Yeah.
When you say control, it's regulated. It's regulated by the teacher, it's regulated by the parent, it's regulated by the child.
Okay. Balance
That
should be there.
balances should be there, which means that in one way, the parent should be completely involved. In the other way, the teacher should take up different roles than what he or she is actually doing right now. Should move beyond that, and the child should be understanding that, okay, these people are there for backing me up in whatever direction I want to go in.
Okay.
That is that natural system.
Okay. Got it. So this is mainly like, okay, go with the natural things, but then have a balance in between. So facilitation is very important. Even if you are not teaching something, but you can ask right questions and maybe do some counseling with child.
Yeah.
Counseling as in just talking to them, figuring out. Margadarshan. Yes. Okay, so the next
because many people have a very wrong concept of counseling, what counseling means.
No, just being a mentor to them.
No, that's what you're saying, but a lot of people, when you say counseling, will be like, oh, mere bachche ka dimag ka kuch problem hai.
No, we are education, we are in the we are working on education, so we won't be taking counseling in a bad word. Okay, so for pre-primary and primary, is it necessary to learn through foreign language? Foreign language means, I suppose they are talking about English, because as in mother tongue. Is it about mother tongue or I think so. So English doesn't come naturally to us. Our mother language, or let's say 2-3 languages which we hear in the surrounding, come naturally to us.
Yeah.
So for pre-primary and primary, do children need to go through a specific training in language which is English? Like, let's say कि English medium में पढ़ाना जरूरी है या फिर formal schooling जरूरी है, that too in English? This is what I can make sense out of this question.
Okay. So with very young kids, the best way to start is, of course, with whatever you're speaking at home, with whatever language you are speaking at home. And you can slowly add on, because that growing phase, they imbibe a lot.
Yeah.
So that is a natural process for them. You don't actually, you can actually leverage on that. You can slowly start teaching them more and more languages as they grow. But it's not necessary for you to start off with only English or anything like that. Best is to start with your language that you speak at home, whatever it is. And
but then
we have a lot of diversity.
Children also pick up languages very fast. So
yeah, that's why I said. So they imbibe a lot of things. So anybody who's speaking in a different language, they will want to know what is that.
Yeah.
So
and they
it
learn
will continue
very naturally.
Yeah.
Language also.
Language
as
comes...
we grow up, then it becomes a problem to learn another language.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It gets, you're already set in certain ways. So getting to learn languages takes you a longer time, actually.
Yeah.
So here, when the child is very young, you start with your language at home. And then as the year grows, you can add one more language, like that. You can add it. You don't need to start in English itself.
Okay. So should we encourage interdisciplinary approach, and how?
Yeah, so wordings are different. I said integrated, there is the word interdisciplinary. So baseline is all of them pretty much talk about the same things. Should we encourage interdisciplinary approach, and how for
this approach, support from parents and management is also needed. They are saying ki there's a concept in Japanese book. Why? So
Why
maybe
involving
they are
children in domestic
asking that,
violence and
okay,
learn constructive
should we
criticism?
take interdisciplinary approach in learning? And
Absolutely.
this approach needs a lot of support from school management and also parents.
Parents. Yes.
So what are your views on that?
So yeah, like I said, I say integrated approach. Now
Hmm.
there is another word saying interdisciplinary approach.
Hmm.
But I would still say integrated approach because it will not restrict you to disciplines per se.
Huh, huh.
So there are a
Okay.
lot of other things that are involved.
Huh.
So I'll stick to the word integrated approach,
Integrated. Okay.
which is required, and it is required from a very young child, as you said, rightly said, as till it goes up to the school or the college, where you involve teachers, management, all those people, their involvement, and yeah. So all that is required. Yes.
Hmm, 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 hmm.
In interdisciplinary or integrated approach is the better way of
Talking
approaching,
about it.
because it is more of a long term effect.
Right.
So you will see that child from, let's say, 5 years
Hmm,
to 15 years,
hmm,
the 10-year span, you will see a lot of change.
hmm, hmm.
You may not see it in that 5 years to 6 years time, may not, but suddenly somewhere around 7 or 8 years to 15 years, you might see a lot of change,
Hmm,
which background you have put during 5 years and 6 years.
hmm, hmm,
So that will happen. The only thing is we need to have that patience
hmm.
for seeing that result over time. What we
Yes.
do is we like, you put a coin, we get a receipt, we want it like that. But that is not the way. We always have to look at it as a long-term
Right, right.
approach and effect.
So interdisciplinary means mixing disciplines, but again, it talks about, fragmentation of disciplines. So it is better to look at it in a holistic manner, which is integration. What are the
Yeah.
different ways to integrate, Vishnu, if you want to take that question?
What are different ways to integrate?
Integrate curriculum.
Okay, so see, one way, I'll take that example of light again.
Huh,
Okay,
huh.
so your physics teacher is teaching you light and lenses and different colors and everything. After that, your biology teacher talks about the eyes and how we can perceive light, what range of light in the spectrum that we can see, and things like that. Same thing happens with sound. It again, this one. So the thing is that when people teach these subjects, it is again as only as specifically light, specifically sound. There's no connection between either light and sound also, or to any other thing. So here, the first thing is required is that you connect it.
Okay.
So you connected the physics part of light to the biology part of light.
Okay.
For that, you may even go up to the point of, what do you say, co-conducting sessions for the students, where the physics teacher talks about the physics part of the light, and the biology teacher says, so this what happens, this is how much we see, and this is how much,
This is like theme, take a theme and then talk about
take a
different
theme. And
subjects.
yeah, so concepts are nothing but those smaller themes. Or
Okay.
if you want to take it on a like a slightly larger theme based, you talk about something like science of entertainment.
Okay.
Okay, so you talk about light, you talk about sound, you talk about other mechanical stuff also, so many other things involved. So you can speak about a speaker giving out the sound, you can speak about the mic that takes in the sound, then how that is applicable in our lives. We take in the air, we give out a sound, it vibrates here, it vibrates there. So all those connections that you can give, but we need to co-teach the same theme. So 2 or 3 different teachers, or let's keep it as 2 as of now. So 2 teachers can take up the same theme and they can take, one can take half the class of her part of the subject, the other person can take other half the class, and they connect it to the same students at the same time.
Okay.
And then tell them also where they can apply it. And also the best part is it should not be theoretical. It should be practical.
Practical.
Like, give them lenses, give them different light colors or filters, get them to do it. It could be in a group if you have too many people. It could be group sessions.
And too many things can be, based on observations also. Like just ask them to observe things and report to you. And you question them to dig deeper. That could be one of the way to go about.
So if you take the example of same light, you can look at light. Let's say what happens when the light falls on a leaf. So what happens when the light falls on the leaf? What happens to the leaf? What's happening inside? Probing questions. Let them get it. Let them figure it out. Then they can go to the library, search, talk about photosynthesis or anything else.
Okay.
And also integrate it with a little bit of, little less words and more, let's say, something like cartoons. Which is very, catchy for all of us. Even today, like, anybody says Tom and Jerry, first thing we'll go and sit in front of the TV. We'll forget everything, forget work, everything. Shut down laptop, go and sit and watch Tom and Jerry. Adults, children, no difference. So it's like that. So take something like that and put it across so that the children themselves can, and as I said, when they are learning naturally, they might draw out cartoons on their own.
Very true.
To understand that concept of light.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting topic, Vishnu. I can go and go on asking questions.
Yeah.
But let's say what people are saying. If child is not interested in maths and more interested in language, then is there any way we can connect this? As in, can't we have optional subject? Like, can child have a choice?
Interesting. Very interesting. I was just wondering when someone will pick up languages, because normally when we speak of more about science and all those things, but very few people actually pick up things like history or languages. So in this case, one thing is, see, from our end as educators, we have to do a lot more research in understanding where one subject is connected with other. It may not, as I said, it may not be directly like math directly connected with English, but somewhere else there is a common point where you use math and you use English somewhere.
Yes.
So we have to figure that one out and we have to understand it. Otherwise, we will not be able to put it across.
Right.
So so that way we have to do our research as educators.
Yes.
That is one thing. And if you're talking about optional subjects, see, one thing I understand is when I've, coming up through school, I understood one thing is if the basics, the foundation part of any of those subjects are not fixed, nothing will be able, you will not be able to grow anything on that. Right? So whether it be math or English or any other subject, certain things is common, foundation part.
Yeah.
Everyone has to learn it, let it be. We'll all learn it in that way. Beyond that, if we keep it optional, maybe someone who's really not, math oriented per se, someone like me, I'm like, no, math, I'll be like, okay, thank you, bye-bye. But if someone is like that, then see, but that's the thing, no? Get them to understand where it is linked with the other things that they are doing in life.
Exactly.
Then they know that, okay, math is important. Not that, I can cut off from it. It is important, but I don't need to use it everywhere else. Okay, this part I use it and rest of it I can do without math. So I'm very happy with that part.
Okay. And also, a few math educators, they say that, okay, if your child is not very much into number sense, then you can teach them math through language. Like take word problems first. Let them understand scenarios first. Develop a number sense first, than putting them into, symbols of plus minus sign and then percentage sign, because that will be
Correct.
very difficult for a child who does not have that ability, I mean, developed in certain age. So that would be very difficult. So if you give them daily life scenario कि आप सब्जी लेने बाहर गए हैं, like when you are taking them to market, at that time if you teach math, a little bit of math,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that will make more difference, right? Word
Yeah.
problem, deal with the word problems first through language.
Correct.
That could be one of the way. uh,
That is also one of the better ways, because it is experiential learning. You are actually going to the market. You are one. See, it's not only about math, right?
mhm.
You're going to the market. You're understanding your vegetables, your
Yeah,
fruits.
yeah,
You connect with the vendor.
mm, mm.
You
Yes.
nothing. You don't need to speak much. You just smile at him or her. You will get a smile back. You're already connected there.
Mm,
So you will get to know their names.
mm,
You just have a word or two with them. How much is this? How much is that? So what does 10 rupees mean? What does 100 rupees mean?
mm,
Take out the note. Okay, this is 100. Okay, that much. Only that much. See, that's what I'm saying. So what is really applicable in your life is very small,
mm,
and that has to be the foundation.
mm,
Above that, if they want to continue, like I
mm,
want to do advanced math, something with related with
mm,
integration and differentiation in the math
mm.
sector, which talks about something of
I know. That
astronomical
is, yeah,
calculations and things like that.
right.
So please continue. Then you don't have to hold them anywhere, right? So they will go on
Mm,
their own. Continue. But till
okay.
then, that phase is okay. You
Mm,
put it across little by little. Let's see how they take it. Then
mhm,
okay, like you said, like that child now cannot do x plus y plus z.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
It's okay. Teach him some other way.
mm.
But it needs to be experiential, especially for younger kids. You
Okay.
can't get them to sit and write x plus y plus z
Hmm.
most of the time. You have to get them moving, and it is natural for a kid to keep moving out, running
Hmm.
around. That is also a natural way of development for the
Yeah,
child.
yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, so you there is no there's nothing that you can say that like for like your example, I would rather go to the library than the PE class. But if there's no PE class, you'll
Hmm.
definitely be out there running with your friends.
Yeah.
Huh. Because you have that the tag of
Class.
disciplinary
Yeah.
class there. You have to be there, all that stuff. People keep raving and ranting about it, and they'll probably 2-3 times and get you to do 3-4 murgi baskis and all that stuff. So you don't like that.
Hmm.
See that all that has to change. All that has to change.
Mhm. Okay. So this is interesting, but is it possible for a classroom with 50 students, 50 plus students? Sometimes it is like 60 students, 70 students.
Huh. So
Hmm.
so yeah, so here is where you need to co-create a lot of stuff with the students,
Hmm.
right from let's say how the class works, rules and regulations of the class, behavior of the student as well as the teacher. Start from there, start from them,
Okay.
then bring it up to academic, saying that okay, this week this is the slot, these are the topics.
Okay. Okay.
Now let us all learn these topics and come, and then we'll have a discussion, we'll understand it better, and then take it forward.
Okay. Okay.
Something like that can happen. But when
Hmm.
you're talking about experiential learning, when you have a 50 plus class of 50 plus students, then you'll have to break it down to batches, which again comes back to when you're co-teaching, it becomes easier. So one teacher takes outside, finishes that work, comes back, the next goes out, comes back. So you have, like, if you say 60 people, you have 20, 20, 20 going out, coming in, going out, coming in. And the rest of them are having a separate discussion on that, on something else. So it works. It definitely works. As I said, you will think that, oh, 50 plus students, how this is going to work right now. But once you at least experiment with that, you will find your way with the kids. The kids will find their way with you.
Yeah.
Then once you found your way, then
Yeah. So you are saying it is more about understanding each other. It is more about learning with each other rather than setting processes.
it's basically about learning with each other. You take that journey together.
Okay.
It should not be that, come with me, I am leading you. You don't know anything. Or you should not be like, so many kids, what do I do now? I'll just give this work to them and then let them do it.
Okay.
Not like that. So you should not leave them also too free. You should also not take up too much pressure.
Okay. Okay.
So like I normally say, I just don't like to add that word. I normally say that children are, mini nuclear power plants, Yeah, they're literally uranium atoms or thorium or plutonium, whatever. They are bubbling with energy.
Right.
If a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old or 60-year-old teacher has to go and jabber in front of them, who's losing energy? The teacher, and she already has less energy. Why? Get the kids to do stuff, which is why you need to co-create a lot of things with them. You need to get them to take up that responsibility, take up that, so give them a lot of things to do. That way. And see, the other thing that I would like to add with this integration part is, when kids are out of the four walls, and my observation with my camps, when they are in nature, they are totally different beings. You will think like, oh, is this the kid I came with? They're totally different beings. They are suddenly so aware and they're suddenly so enlightened. And the type of questions that come out are not those, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Type of questions, they're not like the annoying, crazy little questions, or at least what we adults feel are annoying. But they will come out with such amazing questions. And you'll be like, oh man, I have not observed that. Wait, let me also observe it. And then let's see what the answer could be. So it's like that. So, which also brings me to that second point of, there should be that nature connect.
In the open air, open space is very important.
In the open space, and in the open space, I don't mean like your sports field. That's a barren land. No, it should be nice wooded space. Like, you have plants, you have trees.
Okay.
Get them to move around. It's okay if they want to sit and look at the plant also. It's okay. But get them to have that connect every day, even for a short while.
Okay. So there's a question. Are you talking only about private schools? Government schools are very difficult in that manner.
Very difficult in what manner?
As in, whatever you are speaking and whatever you are telling to do is okay with private schools, right? In the government school, where the socio-economic background is very different, and people coming there are very different, they may not have basic facilities, then how do you co-create or engage them differently, be an experiential facilitator?
So see, one thing is, with government schools, you won't have that 50 plus kind of children in one class. So that is eliminated.
There are.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, then you're talking about urban and rural government schools. Then that will be a differentiation again.
In urban, you will find 50, 60 students in government school.
Okay, no, I'm talking
because
in one
I
class.
studied from government.
In one class?
Yeah.
Okay,
because,
great.
In government aided school where I studied, we were 67 in a class.
Okay. Awesome. So here, experiential learning can happen. Okay. See, again, here, even though the children are from different socioeconomic backgrounds, the basic nature is the same. They are high packets of energy. They are enthusiastic. They are willing to explore, run around,
Okay.
learn, right? So, see here again, that what I was talking to you earlier about spending energy on the right things instead of the wrong things. See, you're thinking about their socioeconomic backgrounds. You need to understand the child for who or he or she is. It does not matter. Socioeconomic backgrounds really don't matter. Here, you are thinking about the child for who or he or she is, and you're looking at giving that child that much of experiential education,
Okay.
that much of experiential learning. They are enthusiastic. They have the energy. They have the time. They are there with you. You can create wonders there.
Okay, so maybe we could look at it in a different manner. Space might
Obviously.
be a constraint, but still in a confined space, also what you bring in as a facilitator can make a difference. So,
Yeah.
and okay, so again, somebody is talking about what will be ways you think this can be adopted as this country has lot of constraints? Ways of adaptation of integration, like we were talking about the government school, but then there are so many schools which have differences. Like I have been to such schools कि वहाँ पे playground तो छोड़ो, एक building भी proper नहीं है. So in that case, it becomes very difficult to facilitate learning in an experiential manner. Maybe is it because of infrastructural problems? It is lack of awareness in teachers. And also simply because system doesn't permit it.
See, when you're talking about a school that lacks in building infrastructure, okay, like as in buildings or classrooms, then you're already out.
Means?
You're already out. You're not in the classroom. You're already outside.
Okay.
So there comes the natural learning part of it.
Okay. Okay.
You can integrate your subjects. Like, for example, there are a lot of kids who like to climb the trees. Get them to explore the trees.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, see, you can do mathematics there itself. Length of the leaf, angle of the twigs, length of the branch, how from the base, how tall the tree starts branching, why one tree is different from the other, how they differ, all those things. Get them to think.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're doing your measurements, so which are the basic things that you start off with.
Okay.
Right? As you go on, of course, if you're talking about government schools, they don't have too much of in-depth of so many subjects. But so this becomes easier for them. Actually, it's much easier for them to integrate things.
Okay. Okay. We would definitely like example if you have. But anyways, Vishnu is our expert for curriculum, so he will be taking certain sessions on curriculum also. Actually, we are trying to build this curriculum module in such a way that people get basics of curriculum first, and then a speciality in curriculum, and according to your needs in learning needs in next eduthon, we are bringing in people who have done significant research work in curriculum as well, right, Vishnu? So
absolutely,
a parent is saying a very interesting conversation. I can relate to it from my own school memories as well as to current experiences with my son. So this has been a very, very interesting session, Vishnu. And Vishnu is being our, pillar of support for next eduthon. And as Ruchira and I and all other team members are working with us. Similarly, Vishnu is putting in so many efforts for putting that learning phase together, isn't it? So, Vishnu, could you just tell us about the learning part of curriculum, like basically under curriculum and pedagogy theme, what are we looking at? What kind of problems are we looking at, and what kind of mentoring or support that we can provide, or learning material that we are providing?
Okay, so under this curriculum and pedagogical, method, this theme, so we are looking at the very basics of what is curriculum, what are all the pedagogical methods,
Yeah,
and existing till now, and
yeah,
how we can take it forward in a better way. So,
yeah,
which means there are a lot part of curriculum that will need to change, that you might modify kind of stuff, and so many pedagogical methods that you might need to refine. So in this theme, we are going to be looking at people's participation to get the ideas. Obviously, by myself or by themselves, by ourselves, we cannot think of all the methods. You might get a different idea, so we might be able to look into that idea and see how it works, and we'll be able to help you, guide you with that process. And eventually, we are not going to be only talking about it, we are going to implement it and see how well it works.
yes,
So that is the main bottom line. Kind of, we want to see it work. We don't want to keep talking about it over and over again. The
yeah,
people have done a lot of about it, a lot of
yeah,
things about that for so many years, but implementation has not happened. So this
right.
time we are looking at actually implementing your ideas,
Hmm.
and taking it to the field. We just
Hmm.
want to see it work.
Yes. And we are also talking about design aspect of curriculum. So how to
Huh.
design the curriculum, what are the different ways to design it, and pedagogy also, instructional design, or how to nurture participation from community in the curriculum or in pedagogy. This is also something we are looking at, and the kind of problems that we that we want you to bring in. If you are not happy with your textbook, please bring in that, because that comes under curriculum. Again, teaching learning resources, materials, and tools also. If you are talking about opening up a school, then maybe setting up agenda for the school, or curricular objectives for certain subjects, or let's say how to embed art education or value education, social emotional learning in the curriculum. That is something we will mentor about, right, Vishnu?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So thank you so much, Vishnu, for joining in. Vishnu's organization, the Humanity Express, they are our knowledge partners for this curriculum and pedagogy theme. And Vishnu has been a very core member of our team. Thanks a lot, Vishnu, for joining. Thank you, everybody, for joining this session. It has been a wonderful session, because both Vishnu and I can go uh,
On and
round
on
the
with this.
clock
Absolutely.
and discuss about curriculum. It happens always, but it is so good to see so many questions flowing in, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And some really amazing questions.
yeah, yeah. So please register if you haven't, because now it is like just 4 or 5 days remaining for the registration process. And Acha, there is one more question, Vishnu.
Acha.
Do you think there is a need to revise history textbook rather than introducing child only state-oriented history?
Okay. Yeah.
Controversial. Now,
No, no,
till
there
now
is.
we haven't discussed one controversial question in this particular, every day we discuss so many controversial issues. Finally, we got it.
I told you, language and history, two things had not come up till now. Now history is coming up. Now actually the fun begins. Yeah. So of course, see, with respect to history, uh, I would say that, we have to put it in phases. Okay. So one is we need to know the local history. We need to know the state history. We need to know the national history. And then we need to know the global history. All these four phases need to be there. We need to learn all of that, but in parts, right? So right from beginning, we don't need to know what America did, what Europe, half of Europe did.
Right.
We start here. What happened in, let's say, in
In
this
the
city,
surrounding.
in the surroundings, in this city? How did the city come up to being? Who brought it up? See, we need not remember. It's not like we should remember the dates or the people's names only, but we should understand, that situation in which that person came up to being a leader and brought about this building of the city, for example. So like that is also very important. It's not about, someone just creating the city. No. Right from the beginning, you start like, okay, 2 people settled here, 4 people settled here. What happened after that? When did it happened? Maybe 5,000 years ago, maybe. Right. Okay, we are not very sure about that. It's okay, let it be. But we cannot say that, okay, in 1942, this only happened. No, there's so many other things that happened in 1942 as well, right? So
very true.
That's, yeah. So we need to know the local history, the regional, the national, like that. So all that type of history. So definitely we have to change the history textbook. The first thing I think we need to change.
Rather, I would say history के लिए ना textbook ही नहीं होना चाहिए. Just go around, talk to people, talk to elders, and co-create history. Create history there.
Even better. You want to learn history? Travel the whole of India. Just travel. You will get to know enough history. You'll get to know enough history, especially local history. It'll be like the most amazing thing. You'll forget, what happened in Europe, what happened in Russia and everything. You'll come back. You'll be like, oh, we had so much of history. Oh my God. What are we doing with all those guys now? Oh, we want to learn this. We want to conserve our culture. See, that's the thing. No, we forget our culture and we think of everybody else across the world. We want to follow them, but they don't leave their culture. They learn something from our culture and add it to their culture, but they never leave their culture around. But we are the ones who are like, okay, our culture, it's okay, remove this culture, take another culture, put it on. We have become Englishmen, something like that. we do that. Only we do such a crazy thing. But we should stop doing that. We should, literally go back, understand our own culture for what it actually is. It's not about just words or just rituals or anything of that sort. There's a lot of deeper meaning behind that.
Right.
When it comes to history.
So yes, creating history would be one very good thing. You talk about different people from, let's say, different cities, different villages, or just, talking to elders about how they spent their childhood. Could be a better way to look at the history. And yes, history textbook, I think history textbook can be revised, but only state history, like Vishnu said, doesn't make a sense. Yeah. Cool. So it was amazing conversation. Loved it. We should have these conversations, very often. That too about curriculum, because that's being a favorite topic.
Yeah. And we should see it, being implemented also pretty soon. Because we can have a lot of Zoom calls like this and go on and on and on. Because talking, though, we don't have a problem. No, we can talk forever. So,
actually,
but we need to make sure that it's implemented somewhere and it works.
Yes, great. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, I just need to add one more thing. So for people who would love to travel and understand, things like history, geography, and culture and things like that, do definitely get in touch with us. We do a lot of these programs. So integrated programs are always there with us. So we are opening doors.
Definitely.
All of you are welcome.
Yes. And for this particular thing, history, geography, or the citizenship aspect, we also have a theme dedicated to that, right?
Correct.
A democratic education for democratic citizenship, and there we are actually conducting different activities to understand citizenship phenomena. In fact, on Monday, we will be talking more about citizenship. And yes, so it was a great conversation, and stay tuned for more of such conversations, coffee conversations, although we did not have cup of coffee today. Thanks a lot, Vishnu, for joining.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody, for joining. We look forward to your participation. Um,
I'll
Thank
see you at the Eduthon, everybody.
Bye bye. Take care.
You bye. Bye, everybody.